The news dropped like a nuclear bomb across the Atlantic. And let me tell you, the shockwaves are still reverberating through Montecito. Multiple sources have confirmed to Page 6 that the British royal family is planning not one but two major visits to the United States in 2025, and Harry and Meghan are completely, utterly, devastatingly iced out. We're talking about King Charles and Queen Camilla touching down in April, followed by Prince William and Princess Catherine gracing American soil in July for the nation's 250th birthday celebrations. This isn't just any diplomatic jaunt. This is history in the making, the kind of pageantry and prestige that happens once in a lifetime, and the Sussexes have been left watching from the sidelines like uninvited guests at their own party. Think about the magnitude of what's happening here. America's semi-quarter millennial celebration is going to be one of the biggest events in the nation's history. The pomp, the ceremony, the international attention, all of it will be focused on this monumental milestone. And who does America want representing the British monarchy at this historic moment? Not the self-proclaimed humanitarians hiding behind their Montecito hedges. Not the couple who spent years trashing the institution on Netflix and in best-selling memoirs. No, America wants the real deal, the working royals who actually understand duty, service, and dignity. But here's where it gets absolutely delicious. This isn't just about what Harry and Meghan are missing. This is about what they threw away. Because let's be brutally honest, they could have been part of this. They should have been part of this. Had they kept their mouths shut, honored their commitments, and played the long game, they would be essential players in these visits. Meghan, the American Duchess, could have been the perfect bridge between two nations. Harry, the beloved prince, could have walked alongside his brother as they charmed their way across the country. Instead, they're persona non grata in their own adopted homeland. Palace insiders are being careful with their words, but the message is crystal clear. One source close to the situation put it perfectly, saying the royal family will travel to celebrate America's birthday, and conspicuously, the Sussexes won't be anywhere near the guest list. Another insider was even more brutal, questioning whether they really belong at events of this caliber anymore. After all, Harry has allegedly become a pot-smoking pay-for-play royal speaking at Hilton's, and Meghan has been reduced to what one commentator brilliantly dubbed a jam influencer. Do they really belong on the same stage as the King of England and the future King and Queen? The answer apparently is a resounding no. And that snub, that very public, very deliberate exclusion, is about to explode into the biggest royal scandal of 2025. If there's such a thing as catastrophically bad timing, Harry and Meghan just won the lottery. This royal tour announcement lands at precisely the moment when the Sussex brand is circling the drain, gasping for relevance, desperately trying to convince anyone who will listen that they're still important. For months now, they've been scrambling to position themselves as American power players, philanthropic forces, Hollywood insiders who matter. And in one swift announcement from Buckingham Palace, all of that carefully constructed illusion has been obliterated. Let's talk about where they actually stand right now. Netflix, the streaming giant that handed them a reported $100 million deal, has watched their content flop harder than a fish on dry land. The docuseries was a one-hit wonder built entirely on family drama and victim narratives. The Polo series barely registered a blip on anyone's radar, and that cooking show with Meghan, industry insiders are already whispering that this might be the end of their Netflix relationship. The streamer wanted A-list content, global appeal, prestige programming. What they got was a duchess making jam and a prince playing polo. It's embarrassing. Then there's the Spotify disaster, a wound so fresh it's still bleeding. Remember when they signed that multi-million-dollar podcast deal? Remember when everyone thought Meghan was going to be the next big thing in audio content? Spotify certainly remembers, and they'd probably like to forget. After producing a handful of episodes that generated more eye rolls than downloads, the partnership imploded. A Spotify executive even called them grifters, not failed podcasters, not disappointing creators. Grifters. Let that sink in. And now, just when they need a win more desperately than ever, American Riviera Orchard has become the punchline of the year. Meghan's big lifestyle brand relaunch, the thing that was supposed to prove she's a savvy businesswoman and not just a failed royal, has been met with mockery, memes, and merciless ridicule. She's selling jam, expensive jam that costs more than most people's grocery budget, jam that she personally delivered to influencers in gift baskets like she's running a farmer's market stall. The woman who married a prince, who had access to global platforms and unlimited resources, is now competing with every wellness influencer hawking overpriced preserves on Instagram. So here comes the royal family, swooping into America like they own the place, which historically speaking, they kind of tried to, and they're doing it without Harry and Meghan. They're essentially telling the American public, we're coming to your country for your biggest celebration, and we're bringing the real royals, not the retired ones, not the complainers, the ones who actually work, the ones who represent the crown with dignity instead of dragging it through the mud for Netflix specials. The message couldn't be clearer if they'd skywritten it over Montecito. You're not needed. You're not wanted. You're irrelevant. Let's take a moment to really absorb the magnitude of what Harry and Meghan actually destroyed. Because this isn't just about missing a tour. This is about torching a legacy that could have made them untouchable. When they walked away from the royal family, they didn't just leave behind stuffy palaces and boring ribbon-cutting ceremonies. They abandoned a role that was custom-built for them, a position that would have given them everything they claimed to want: influence, purpose, global platform, and yes, even the freedom to make a difference. Think about what the late Queen Elizabeth gave them. She didn't just hand them meaningless patronages to keep them busy. She gave Meghan the National Theatre, one of Britain's most prestigious cultural institutions. She gave them both prominent roles in Commonwealth organizations, positions that would have sent them around the world as ambassadors of the crown. Harry and Meghan could have been the face of the monarchy in diverse modern nations across the globe. They could have been the bridge between tradition and progress, between the old guard and the new generation. The Queen saw that potential and tried to nurture it. And here's the part that should make them sick with regret. They could have been the power couple representing Britain in America. Imagine this alternative reality for a moment. Instead of being excluded from the 250th birthday celebrations, they would have been essential. William and Kate handling the East Coast, Harry and Meghan owning the West. The British-American dream team, showing the world that the monarchy could span continents and cultures. Meghan, the California girl who became a duchess, would have been the perfect person to connect with American audiences. Harry, with his military background and charitable work, would have charmed everyone from veterans groups to Hollywood elite. They would have attended state dinners at the White House. They would have met with American political leaders, tech titans, entertainment moguls. They would have toured Silicon Valley, visited inner-city charities, appeared at major sporting events. The American media would have eaten it up. Two young glamorous royals bringing a touch of Windsor magic to the land of the free. It would have been a PR goldmine, the kind of soft diplomacy that money can't buy. But instead of playing the long game, instead of building something sustainable and meaningful, they chose the quick cash grab. They chose Oprah confessionals over royal tours. They chose Netflix deals over diplomatic dinners. They chose tabloid revenge over institutional respect. And in doing so, they didn't just burn bridges, they napalmed an entire landscape of opportunity. Now those Commonwealth roles they abandoned, they've been redistributed to working royals who actually show up. Those patronages Meghan couldn't be bothered to nurture, they found new committed supporters. That global platform they took for granted, it's been reclaimed by people who understand that representing the crown is a privilege, not a prison sentence. They had the world at their feet, and they stomped on it. Make no mistake, what we're witnessing here is not just a diplomatic visit. This is a calculated strategic masterclass in institutional power, and King Charles and Prince William are playing chess while Harry and Meghan are still trying to figure out checkers. The decision to send working royals to America for not one but two separate high-profile visits in 2025 is a deliberate message, and that message is simple. The monarchy doesn't need the Sussexes. Not in Britain, not in the Commonwealth, and certainly not in America. Let's break down the brilliance of this strategy. First, the timing. April and July, two separate visits spread across the year, ensuring maximum media coverage and sustained presence in the American consciousness. King Charles and Queen Camilla will arrive in April, setting the tone, reminding Americans that the British monarchy is alive, well, and thoroughly dignified. Then, just as that buzz starts to fade, here come William and Catherine in July for the actual birthday celebrations, bringing their star power, their relatability, their undeniable appeal to a nation that loves a good fairy tale. This isn't accidental scheduling. This is strategic saturation. For months, the American media will be covering British royalty, but it won't be the dysfunctional Montecito narrative of victimhood and grievance. It'll be the real deal, the working royals who represent stability, duty, and genuine public service. Every magazine cover, every news segment, every social media moment will feature Charles, Camilla, William, and Catherine, not Harry and Meghan. The Sussexes will be completely eclipsed in their own adopted country. And here's where it gets even more delicious. Sources close to the palace suggest this is absolutely deliberate positioning to show Americans what authentic royalty looks like versus the Montecito version. Think about the optics. While Harry and Meghan have spent years doing staged photo ops at disaster sites and manufactured charity appearances that scream desperation, William and Catherine will be doing actual diplomacy. They'll be meeting with presidents, governors, business leaders. They'll be attending events that matter, representing a nation, strengthening international bonds. The contrast couldn't be more devastating. On one side, you have the future King and Queen of England, poised, professional, universally respected. On the other, you have a former prince and his wife trying to sell overpriced jam and secure podcast deals. The American public isn't stupid. They can see the difference between substance and spectacle, between duty and narcissism. Palace insiders have been remarkably tight-lipped about whether Harry and Meghan were even considered for involvement, but the silence speaks volumes. One doesn't exclude family members from major events without serious deliberation. This wasn't an oversight. This wasn't an administrative error. This was a choice, a very public declaration that the institution has moved on without them. And the most brutal part? The tour will succeed spectacularly without them. America will roll out the red carpet for the real royals, proving once and for all that Harry and Meghan were never irreplaceable. They were just replaceable people who happened to be in the right place at the right time until they weren't. For Meghan Markle, this isn't just a snub. This is the complete and utter destruction of the narrative she's been selling since the day she landed back on American soil. She positioned herself as the American princess, the California girl who conquered the British establishment, the biracial duchess who was going to modernize the monarchy and bridge cultures. She told Oprah, she told Netflix, she told anyone who would listen that she was the future, that she understood diversity and inclusion in ways the stuffy old institution never could. And now the stuffy old institution is coming to her country, to her people, and they're doing it without her because they don't need her. Let's talk about how catastrophic this is for Meghan's entire brand identity. She spent years cultivating this image of being the Commonwealth's greatest asset, the person who could connect with modern, diverse audiences in ways that pale British aristocrats never could. She presented herself as essential to the monarchy's survival in the 21st century. Remember all those think pieces about how Meghan was going to save the royal family by making it relevant to younger, more diverse generations? Remember how she was supposed to be the bridge between old world tradition and new world progress? Well, here comes reality with a sledgehammer. The royal family is about to descend upon the United States, the most diverse, most powerful nation on earth, and they're bringing William and Catherine, the whitest, most traditionally British couple imaginable, and it's going to work brilliantly. America is going to love them. Politicians will compete for photo opportunities, celebrities will beg for invitations, the media will fawn over every appearance, and Meghan will have to watch from Montecito as everything she claimed only she could do gets done perfectly well without her. This destroys her entire victim narrative. She told the world that the institution rejected her because they couldn't handle her Americanness, her modernity, her refusal to conform. But now that same institution is enthusiastically embracing America, celebrating American culture, honoring American history. It turns out they didn't have a problem with America at all. They had a problem with Meghan, and the geographic humiliation is particularly delicious. These royal visits will likely include California, Meghan's home state, the place where she's supposed to reign supreme as the local girl made good. Imagine her sitting in her Montecito mansion, watching news coverage of William and Catherine being welcomed by California's elite, touring tech companies in Silicon Valley, maybe even visiting Los Angeles, her old stomping grounds. The people she thought would always see her as their homegrown success story will be tripping over themselves to meet the real royals. Sources close to the situation suggest Meghan is absolutely seething. She genuinely believed that leaving the royal family would enhance her power and influence, especially in America. She thought she could have her cake and eat it too. Keep the Duchess title and the prestige while ditching the obligations and restrictions. Instead, she's discovering that the title means nothing without the institution behind it. She's a Duchess in name only, and America is about to get a masterclass in what actual royalty looks like. Her American dream isn't just dying, it's being publicly executed. If Meghan's pain is watching her American identity get reclaimed by the institution, Harry's torture is something far more personal, far more devastating. This is his family, his blood, coming to the country he fled to, the place he claimed to love more than Britain, and they're doing it without him. They don't need him, they don't want him, and worst of all, they're proving they're better off without him. For a man who spent his entire life defined by his royal position, this is psychological annihilation. Let's really sit with what Harry is experiencing right now. His father, the king, is coming to America. His brother, the heir to the throne, is coming to America. And Harry, the spare who wrote an entire book about being the spare, isn't invited. He's not even an afterthought. He's been erased from the narrative completely. Like he never existed. Like his decades of royal service meant nothing. Every fear he's ever expressed about being irrelevant, about being cast aside, about being forgotten, is coming true in the most public, most humiliating way possible. This cuts deeper than professional exclusion. This is family rejection on a global stage. Harry spent years complaining about being overshadowed by William, about playing second fiddle, about never getting the recognition he deserved. So he left. He walked away. He wrote Spare to tell his side of the story, to reclaim his narrative, to prove he mattered. And now the institution is showing him exactly how much he mattered by functioning flawlessly without him. William doesn't need a wingman. Charles doesn't need a second son. The monarchy has closed ranks and moved forward, and Harry is discovering that he was never as essential as he thought. The geographical symbolism is brutal. Harry chose America. He picked California sunshine over British rain. He selected Montecito mansions over Windsor Castle. He wanted freedom, privacy, the chance to build his own life away from the suffocating constraints of royal duty. And now his family is invading that space, that sanctuary he created, and they're being welcomed with open arms while he's relegated to watching from behind his security gates. Imagine what's going through his mind. His brother will meet with American military leaders, the kind of meetings Harry used to do. William will attend charity events, shake hands with veterans, honor service members, all things Harry excelled at during his military career. The skills Harry developed, the connections he made, the reputation he built, all of it is being transferred to William on American soil. It's not just replacement, it's erasure. And here's the most devastating part. Harry can't even complain about it without looking pathetic. What's he gonna do? Call up his favorite tabloid journalists and whine that he wasn't invited to his country's royal tour? Release another statement through his lawyers about how hurt he feels? The man who wrote an entire book trashing his family can't exactly claim to be wounded when that family decides to maintain professional distance. He wanted out, he got out, and now he's learning that getting what you want doesn't always mean getting what you need. He's isolated, irrelevant, and watching his worst nightmare unfold in real time. Here's where the knife really twists. Harry and Meghan left the royal family specifically to conquer Hollywood, to become A-list celebrities, to build an entertainment empire that would rival anything the monarchy could offer. They signed with WME, one of the most powerful talent agencies in the world. They positioned themselves as content creators, producers, influencers. They were going to be bigger than the institution they left behind. And now Hollywood is choosing that institution over them, and it's not even close. Let's talk about what's really going to happen during these royal visits. When William and Catherine touch down in America, they won't be scraping for invitations or manufacturing photo opportunities. They'll have A-list celebrities competing for FaceTime. Think about it. George Clooney, who attended their wedding, will likely be involved. David Beckham, who just publicly snubbed the Sussexes by cozying up to William, will be front and center. Steven Spielberg, Tom Cruise, genuine Hollywood royalty, will consider it an honor to meet actual royalty. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan are reduced to what? Showing up uninvited at Kris Jenner's birthday party and getting roasted for it. Attending minor award shows where they hand out participation trophies. Doing interviews with sympathetic journalists who'll let them control the narrative. That's not A-list, that's barely B-list. That's celebrity purgatory, and everyone in Hollywood knows it. Sources close to the planning of these royal visits have revealed something absolutely devastating. Major American institutions, museums, charities, cultural organizations specifically requested the working royals. Not any royals, not just whoever was available. They wanted William and Catherine. They wanted Charles and Camilla. They asked for the monarchy's best. And the monarchy's best explicitly does not include the Sussexes. These organizations looked at Harry and Meghan and said, no thank you, we'll wait for the real deal. Think about what that means for their Hollywood currency. The entertainment industry runs on access, prestige, and relevance. Harry and Meghan's entire pitch to studios, streaming services, and brands was that they could deliver royal glamour with American accessibility. But if American institutions are rejecting them in favor of actual working royals, what value do they have? They can't offer access to the palace because they burn those bridges. They can't offer prestige because they've become punchlines. And they're rapidly losing relevance because the world is moving on without them. The contrast during these visits is going to be excruciating. William and Catherine will attend glittering galas with legitimate power players. Harry and Meghan will be doing what exactly? Another disaster tourism photo op? Another manufactured charity appearance where they're the only celebrities present? Another podcast interview where they complain about their treatment while sitting in a multi-million-dollar mansion? Hollywood is a town that respects success, power, and winners. Right now, Harry and Meghan are looking like losers who made a catastrophically bad bet. They gambled that their royal connection would sustain them without the royal obligations, and Hollywood is calling their bluff. The working royals are coming to town, and Tinseltown is rolling out the red carpet while the Sussexes watch from the cheap seats. Oh, the bitter, delicious irony. Harry and Meghan got exactly what they demanded. They wanted freedom from royal duties, freedom from palace protocols, freedom from the suffocating constraints of institutional life. They wanted to live authentically, pursue their passions, build their own brand on their own terms, and they got it, all of it. Every last bit of freedom they craved. And it turns out freedom without power is just another word for irrelevance. Let's revisit their greatest hits of complaint, shall we? Harry told Oprah that royal life was a prison, that he felt trapped, that he couldn't breathe under the weight of expectation and tradition. Meghan painted herself as a caged bird stifled by protocols, silenced by courtiers, prevented from living her truth. They both insisted that leaving was necessary for their mental health, their happiness, their very survival. They made it sound like the royal family was holding them hostage, and escaping was their only option. Well, congratulations, you escaped. You're free. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want. You don't have to ask permission from palace officials. You don't have to coordinate schedules with other working royals. You don't have to smile through boring state dinners or pretend to enjoy ribbon-cutting ceremonies. You're completely, totally, utterly free. So why does it look so much like imprisonment? Because here's what they didn't understand when they demanded their freedom. The royal duties they found so burdensome weren't just obligations, they were the source of their relevance. Those boring engagements created opportunities. Those tedious protocols opened doors. That institutional support gave them a platform that money can't buy. They thought they were shedding dead weight, but they were actually amputating the limbs that allowed them to stand tall. Now they have freedom to watch William and Catherine do exactly what they used to do, except with grace, consistency, and genuine public support. They have freedom to see Charles and Camilla represent the crown on the world stage without their help. They have freedom to realize that the institution they mocked and abandoned is thriving, growing, succeeding without them. What a liberating experience that must be. And the cruelest joke? They can't even complain about it without looking ridiculous. They chose this. They fought for this. They burned every bridge, torched every relationship, and nuked every opportunity to get this freedom they claim to need so desperately. So when that freedom turns out to be cold, lonely, and irrelevant, whose fault is that? They can't blame the institution anymore. They can't blame racism or media persecution or outdated protocols. They got out. They won. This is victory. This is what winning looks like. They traded influence for independence and discovered they're not actually independent at all. They're dependent on the institution they left, desperate for crumbs of relevance, clinging to titles they didn't earn through their own merit. They're the Duke and Duchess of nothing, free to do absolutely anything except the one thing that actually mattered, represent the crown with dignity and purpose. Freedom without purpose is just exile with better weather. So here's the million-dollar question, or should we say the $100 million Netflix question. What exactly are Harry and Meghan going to do when William and Catherine's plane touches down on American soil? Because make no mistake, they're going to do something. These are not people who sit quietly while the spotlight shifts away from them. They've built their entire post-royal existence on counter-programming, on manufacturing moments that compete with actual royal news. But this time, they're facing a problem they've never encountered before. You can't out-royal actual royalty, especially not on this scale. Insiders close to the Sussex camp suggest they're absolutely scrambling for a response strategy, and coming up painfully empty. What can they possibly do that won't look desperate, petty, or pathetic? Launch American Riviera orchard products during the royal visits? Please. Nobody's choosing artisanal jam over the future King and Queen of England. Announce a major charity initiative? With what credibility? Their philanthropic endeavors have been mostly performative photo ops that generate more mockery than goodwill. There's speculation that Meghan might try to orchestrate some kind of major media appearance, maybe an interview with a sympathetic journalist where she can share her truth yet again. But who's going to care? American networks will be wall-to-wall coverage of William and Catherine. Print media will be scrambling for every detail about the royal tour. Social media will be obsessed with Kate's fashion choices and William's diplomatic prowess. There won't be oxygen left in the room for Meghan's grievances. Some royal watchers predict they might attempt geographical counter-programming, showing up in cities the working royals aren't visiting, doing charity work that creates alternative photo opportunities. But that strategy is transparently desperate. It screams we're relevant too, please pay attention to us, and the media will absolutely frame it that way. They'll be the footnote to the main story, the sad little asterisk that says, meanwhile in Montecito, the irrelevant royals attempted damage control. Here's the nuclear option that keeps getting whispered about. What if Harry and Meghan try to actually show up at royal events? Not officially invited, just happening to be in the same city, available for a surprise reunion photo op that they can spin as family reconciliation. It would be bold, it would generate massive headlines, and it would also be the most humiliating public rejection imaginable when palace security turns them away. Can you imagine the optics? The prodigal son showing up uninvited to his father's state visit and being denied entry. That's not counter-programming, that's career suicide. The brutal truth is that they have no good moves here. Every option available to them either looks desperate, gets ignored, or backfires spectacularly. They're playing a game they've already lost, and the entire world is about to watch them realize it. The working royals are coming to America with the full backing of the British government, the enthusiastic support of American institutions, and the genuine interest of the public. Harry and Meghan have a failing lifestyle brand and a rapidly shrinking circle of supporters. This isn't a fair fight. This is a massacre in slow motion.